sister offered to be my surrogate and carry my baby for me, but when it came time to hand him over, she decided she was keeping him. My family is on her side, and I don't know if I'll ever see my child again. I went downstairs one morning to my mom put on a creepy smile, pretending to be my friend. I was terrified, so I went along with it, until my older sister also put on a fake smile and told me, "I want to have your babies." She caressed me and told me that she'd be a surrogate for my baby. She told me, "I'd do anything for my baby sister. I'll hold as many babies for you as you want." Then she hugged me, digging her nails into my back. She forced a yes out of me. My whole family had been nothing but nasty to me for my entire life, but the little girl inside me who still craved her family's love bought it. And at first, everything was great. My sister Emily told me I'd be the best mother ever, invited me to every appointment, accompanied me for baby shopping. I thought our relationship was turning around, but then her jokes started. She'd laugh and say stuff like, "Maybe I'll just keep the baby, who knows?" My family thought it was hilarious, but I didn't like it. Yet whenever I brought it up, my parents brushed it off and said I was being oversensitive. Things kept getting weirder as time went on. Emily would call the baby her little miracle and post updates online like she was the mom. She started going to doctor's appointments without telling me and chose nursery colors without asking. I tried to speak up, but my parents shut me down every time. They told me to stop stressing Emily out. My husband Liam told me we should talk to her directly, but when we did, Emily burst into tears and blamed hormones. She apologized so convincingly we felt bad for even doubting her. But then came the baby shower, and that was peak Emily. She and my mom planned it together without giving me a say. Everyone celebrated Emily's bravery and generosity. I was invisible at my own baby shower. Liam squeezed my hand, whispering that we'd get through it. And then came the day Emily gave birth. Liam and I were ecstatic, holding hands, ready to be parents. But the second the nurse placed the baby in Emily's arms, her entire expression changed. Her face hardened. She looked at me and announced, "I've decided I'm keeping him, just for the next few days so he can rest with mama." My stomach dropped. Liam immediately began protesting, but my parents stepped forward, coldly telling us to stop being selfish. Liam and I fought them on it, but the hospital told us they weren't responsible for family matters. Days later, when Emily and my parents had gone home, they invited me and Liam over to talk. There, they laid everything out. They weren't just taking the baby for a few days. They were taking him indefinitely. Turns out they had prepared for months. They bragged openly about how they'd collected evidence of my supposed instability. Emily proudly showed me fabricated texts she'd created, making it look like I had harassed and threatened her during pregnancy. My parents waved around signed statements they'd written themselves, claiming I'd been emotionally abusive and dangerous for years. Emily even had a detailed fake diary she had kept, logging imaginary fights where I screamed and terrorized her. They told us they'd already shown everything to family and friends, painting me as the villain. Liam was furious, yelling at them to stop lying, but they just laughed at us. My mother smirked, saying no court would ever side with someone as unstable as me. After that night, something shifted inside me. Liam held me while I cried, but we decided enough was enough. We found the best family attorney we could afford, but instead of confronting my family again, we went silent. We quietly gathered our own evidence, real evidence. The day we presented our case in court, Emily and my parents looked shocked we even showed up. But as my attorney laid out our evidence, Emily's confidence melted. My parents began to shift nervously, and under questioning, Emily broke down. The threat of lying under oath was too much for her, as she admitted to making it all up. My parents actually freaked out at her for it, calling her a coward in front of the whole court. Upon seeing this, the judge gave my son to me and Liam basically on the spot, and Emily and my parents were told that because of what they just did, a criminal investigation is starting on them. I clutched my son in the courthouse parking lot while Emily screamed threats from the courthouse steps. Her mascara ran in dark streaks down her face as she shrieked that this wasn't over. My hands trembled as I buckled him into his car seat, trying to shield him from her voice. Emily's hand gestures as she pointed and waved looked exactly like how she used to hold him, and the similarity made my stomach turn. Liam started the car quickly while I sat in the back with our baby. Through the rear window, I watched Emily collapse onto the steps, our parents rushing to comfort her. My mother shot me a look of pure hatred before turning back to Emily. The drive home felt surreal, like we were escaping from a nightmare that might still catch up to us. Later that afternoon, I went to the pharmacy to fill the baby's prescription. Walking down the formula aisle, I froze. Emily stood there examining bottles, dressed perfectly as always. She glanced up and our eyes met. Neither of us moved. Other customers browsed around us, completely unaware of the tension. Emily's lips curved into a small smile as she placed a bottle in her basket and walked past me, her shoulder brushing mine. My hands shook as I grabbed what I needed. At the checkout, the pharmacist mentioned they'd had some confusion with the insurance earlier, but it was sorted now. I didn't ask what kind of confusion. I already knew Emily had tried something. The next morning started with the baby crying. As I prepared his bottle, I noticed Emily had posted on social media about grieving the loss of her baby. The comments poured in with sympathy and support. People who didn't know the truth offered condolences for her devastating loss. She'd crafted herself as the victim perfectly. 3 days later, I ran into Emily again at the grocery store. This time, she stood by the diaper display when I turned the corner. The sight of her made something snap inside me. Without thinking, I confronted her about poisoning everyone against me. My voice rose as shoppers turned to stare. Emily's eyes widened with fake innocence as she stepped back, making me look like the aggressor. The staff watched nervously as this disheveled new mother yelled at a well-dressed woman who appeared to be backing away in fear. A security guard approached and asked if everything was all right. Emily assured him she was fine, that she understood I was going through a difficult time. Her voice dripped with false concern. I left immediately, burning with humiliation. That evening, my phone buzzed with a text from my childhood friend Melissa. She desperately needed a babysitter because her mother had fallen and was being taken to the hospital. She mentioned that Emily was the only other person she trusted to watch her kids. My heart sank. Emily had already started working her way into every corner of my life. I spotted Emily's car heading toward our parents' house just as Melissa called again, panic in her voice. I had to choose between following Emily to see what she was planning or helping my friend. Emily's car idled at the intersection, and I swear she was waiting to see which way I'd go. Finally, I turned toward Melissa's house. My friend needed me, and I couldn't let Emily control my every move. Those 3 hours at Melissa's gave Emily exactly what she wanted. While I helped with a real emergency, she established herself as the grieving victim at our parents' church grief support group. I found out later from a neighbor who attended. Emily had sobbed about losing the baby she'd carried, how I'd torn him away from her, how she just wanted to love him. The group embraced her, offering prayers and support. Everything hit at once the next week. The baby spiked a fever that required an emergency room visit. While I sat in the waiting room, Liam called to say his boss was threatening his job over all the court absences. 20 minutes later, a process server found us at the hospital to deliver harassment restraining order papers from my parents. The ER nurse who treated us attended my parents' church. I recognized her from a church photo directory I'd seen years ago. She provided excellent care for the baby while subtly questioning my stability. She asked about my support system, whether I'd been sleeping, if I felt overwhelmed. Her kindness felt like surveillance. Every question seemed designed to gather information about my mental state. Emily had a genuine panic attack at Walmart 2 days later. I wasn't there, but it spread through social media quickly. She'd seen a baby who looked like mine and completely broke down in the store. Witnesses comforted the grieving aunt. aunt, while she sobbed about the baby she'd lost. The video someone posted showed her clutching her stomach where she'd carried him, and even I almost believed her pain was real. My 5-year-old neighbor approached me while I was getting mail. She innocently told me that Miss Emily said I was sick, and that's why she had to take care of my baby. The child was just repeating what she'd overheard, but it showed how far Emily's narrative had spread. Even children in the neighborhood were being poisoned against me. I discovered the baby monitor app was still logged into Emily's phone when I noticed activity at odd hours. The camera would adjust slightly, or the sound would activate briefly. She was watching us, but accessing the app data to prove it would violate the restraining order. I could see her preparations and surveillance recorded in the app history, but I couldn't legally use any of it. The local mommy blog picked up a video someone had taken of me confronting Emily at the courthouse. Taken out of context and edited cleverly, it showed me looking unhinged while Emily appeared calm and reasonable. The post, titled "When Postpartum Goes Wrong," went viral in our community. Comments poured in about mental health resources and the importance of supporting struggling mothers. The pediatrician's office called about a paperwork issue. They needed Emily's signature to transfer medical records since she'd attended all prenatal appointments as the listed guardian. Even though we had custody, her name was on everything from before the birth. More roadblocks she'd carefully planned. Emily's emergency custody petition surfaced my postpartum anxiety diagnosis from 5 years ago with my first child. I'd been open about struggling then, seeking help like I was supposed to. Now she twisted it into evidence of a pattern of mental instability. Every moment of vulnerability I'd ever shown was being weaponized against me. Screenshots from our family group chat appeared in court documents. My angry texts about the baby shower were reframed as threatening behavior toward a loving family. Messages where I'd vented frustration became evidence of my unstable mental state. Emily had been collecting these for months, setting me up. I drove by my old family home daily to get to the grocery store. Emily now lived there, having moved in with our parents after the court case. Concerned neighbors who'd heard Emily's version reported these drives as stalking. I was just trying to live my life, but every normal activity became suspicious through her lens. The insurance nightmare continued. Emily had listed herself as the primary policyholder when she was the primary caregiver during pregnancy. Claims kept getting rejected because they needed her authorization. We spent hours on phone calls trying to untangle the mess she'd created in the system. One exhausted night at 3 a.m., I accidentally gave the baby the wrong formula amount. Panicked, I posted in an online parenting group asking if I should be worried. Emily screenshotted my post within minutes, adding it to her growing file of neglect evidence. Even my moments of normal parental anxiety became weapons in her hands. My best friend Sarah called with tears in her voice. She believed me completely, she said, but her husband Tom had given her an ultimatum. If she got involved in my family drama, he'd file for divorce. She couldn't lose her family over mine. The call ended with her apologizing repeatedly while I sat in stunned silence. The grocery store clerk asked me to use a different checkout line the next week. Other customers had complained about the yelling incident with Emily. The way she said it made clear I was becoming the neighborhood pariah. Emily had successfully painted me as the unstable one while she played the grieving victim. Emily claimed she'd been at a doctor's appointment during a key evidence-gathering moment. Random traffic cam footage confirmed her car was at the medical center at that exact time. She'd planned even her alibis perfectly, creating an unshakable timeline that made her look innocent. My coworker Janet admitted she needed Emily's recommendation letter for nursing school. Emily sat on the admission board, a position she'd gained through our mother's connections. Janet apologized but said she couldn't risk her future by testifying about what she'd witnessed. Another ally lost to Emily's web of influence. When I proved Emily had lied about one doctor's visit, it backfired spectacularly. The investigation revealed I'd also missed 5 prenatal appointments due to work. What should have been evidence of her deception instead made me look like a negligent mother who hadn't prioritized prenatal care. Liam and I celebrated a small legal victory when the judge approved supervised visitation for my parents. We went to a restaurant to try to feel normal for an hour. A stranger photographed us and posted it online with the caption, "Some people have no shame." The image of us smiling while eating became evidence that we were heartless monsters celebrating while poor Emily suffered. After months of this war, both Emily and I reached the same realization. Neither of us could back down now. Too much had been said and done. One of us would be completely destroyed by the end of this. The stakes had moved beyond custody. This was about survival now. Emily started dating Marcus from my old workplace the following week. I saw them together at the coffee shop where we used to grab lunch. Marcus had always been friendly with me, but now he avoided eye contact while Emily whispered something that made him nod sympathetically. She quoted my baby's favorite lullaby casually in conversation, loud enough for me to hear. The casual cruelty of it made my hands clench around my coffee cup. Both of us described the same custody exchange differently to our lawyers later. Emily insisted I'd been aggressive and threatening when I'd simply asked her to step back from the car seat. I remembered her blocking my path and refusing to move until I pushed past her. Each of us genuinely believed our version was the truth. The security footage from the parking lot only showed our backs, leaving everything open to interpretation. My old text to Emily thanking her for being willing to sacrifice so much surfaced in the custody hearing documents. Messages where I'd expressed gratitude for her help now painted me as someone who'd manipulated a generous sister. Every kind word I'd ever said to her became evidence of my calculating nature. The irony burned as I read through pages of my own words twisted against me. The daycare worker pulled me aside during pickup. She mentioned that my son had been repeating something about Aunt Emily saying mommy's medicines made her tired. The innocent repetition of Emily's poison spreading through my child's mouth made me physically ill. Even through supervised visits, she was finding ways to influence him. My neighbor's Ring doorbell had captured audio of my breakdown in the driveway after a particularly difficult exchange. The recording caught my sobbing and angry words, but not Emily's provocation minutes earlier when she'd shown up despite the restraining order. The partial evidence made me look unstable while she remained the invisible puppet master. Family court treated my continued harassment allegations as an attempt to alienate my child from loving extended family. The judge warned that further unfounded accusations could result in reduced custody. Emily sat in the gallery, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue, the picture of a wronged aunt who just wanted to love her nephew. I discovered my grandmother's password still worked for the joint savings account the family shared. The last login showed Grandma had suspected Emily of taking money before she died. I quickly changed the passwords to prevent Emily from accessing the funds, knowing she'd need them for her legal bills. The account history revealed patterns of withdrawals matching Emily's shopping sprees over the years. Emily's Instagram stories about healing from family trauma contained coded messages. She'd post photos of specific locations with captions about finding peace or remembering better times. I realized these were signals to our parents about where to meet without violating the restraining order. The public post looked innocent to followers but served as a communication system. My therapist received a subpoena about concerning statements I'd made regarding violent fantasies toward family members. I'd vented about normal frustrations, saying things like wishing they'd disappear or leave me alone. Now those therapeutic moments were being twisted into evidence of dangerous tendencies. The safe space I'd created for healing became another weapon in Emily's arsenal. I attempted to record Emily at the next pickup, holding my phone discreetly. She spotted it immediately and stepped back, pointing at the device with exaggerated fear. Her performance made me look like an obsessed stalker trying to violate the custody agreement. She smiled knowingly at the camera before covering her face and hurrying away. School pickup required an authorized guardian, and Emily remained listed as an emergency contact from before everything happened. This created daily leverage as she could theoretically pick up my son if I was even 5 minutes late. The school administrator sympathized but said they couldn't remove her without a court order specifically addressing emergency contacts. The delivery nurse who'd witnessed Emily's behavior during birth transferred to another hospital. Anonymous complaints about her unprofessional involvement in our custody case had made her position untenable. I lost my key witness to Emily's orchestrated pressure campaign. Her replacement knew nothing about what had really happened that day. I found Emily wearing my old maternity clothes at the grocery store. She claimed she'd saved them as memories of carrying my baby. The soft gray sweater I'd worn to feel close to my growing child now draped over her frame. She even smelled like my old perfume, a detail so specifically cruel it could only be intentional. Emily offered supervised visits with the baby if I would just admit I'd misunderstood the family's loving intentions. The offer came through her lawyer, framed as a generous olive branch. All I had to do was sign a statement saying I'd been confused and paranoid, that my family had only wanted to help. The price of peace was admitting to lies I'd never told. My refusal was immediately framed as putting pride before my child's need for extended family. Court filings painted me as a bitter woman who'd rather deprive her son of loving relatives than admit she'd been wrong. The narrative was so compelling that even I sometimes wondered if I was being too stubborn. The security footage I'd remembered from the hospital showed a different door than I'd thought. However, it did confirm Emily had entered restricted areas she shouldn't have accessed. The evidence was both wrong and right, undermining my credibility while still proving she'd violated boundaries. My lawyer said it was too ambiguous to use effectively. Liam discovered our grandmother's journal hidden in the freezer during a visit to help clear out her house. The pages documented concerns about Emily's obsession with having children. Entry after entry described Emily's desperate attempts to get pregnant, her jealousy of mothers, her increasingly erratic behavior around babies. But the journal also revealed Grandma had been trying to get Emily psychological help, not documenting crimes. The revelation reframed everything. Emily wasn't just manipulative, she was genuinely disturbed. Her behavior stemmed from a deep, untreated mental health issue that our family had ignored for years. Understanding this didn't excuse her actions, but it complicated my anger. She was both victim and perpetrator. My brother called about choosing sides. He had to decide between supporting me or maintaining his children's relationship with their grandparents. His kids loved their grandma and grandpa, had no idea about the family drama. He couldn't put them through losing more family, he said. His neutrality cut my support in half, but preserved his children's stability. I started adopting Emily's tactics out of desperation. I began showing up at her workplace during client meetings, claiming coincidence. If she could orchestrate random encounters, so could I. The first time her face paled when she saw me through the conference room glass felt like a small victory. During one of these coincidental encounters, I ran into Emily's therapist at the coffee shop downstairs. Through careful small talk, I learned Emily was on anxiety medication and had been for years. The therapist, obviously unaware of who I was, mentioned how dedicated Emily was to her recovery. The information felt like ammunition I didn't know how to use. The cloud account we'd shared for baby photos contained more than just pictures. Emily's private journal entries were buried in nested folders, documenting her feelings about deserving the baby. She wrote about how unfair it was that I got pregnant easily while she struggled. The entries revealed a woman who genuinely believed the universe owed her my child. My son's biological father's parents emerged from nowhere, demanding grandparent rights. They'd been absent throughout the pregnancy and birth, but now wanted access. Their lawyer cited the ongoing custody dispute as evidence of an unstable environment. Fighting multiple fronts divided my attention and resources. Exactly what Emily had hoped for. The stress caused me to miss a crucial pediatric neurology appointment. I'd simply forgotten in the chaos of legal meetings and court dates. The missed appointment was marked as medical neglect in my son's file. Emily's lawyer added it to their growing list of evidence that I couldn't properly care for my child. Legal bills forced me to max out credit cards while Emily used her inheritance from grandmother for high-powered attorneys. The financial imbalance showed in court. Her team filed motion after motion, knowing each response cost me money I didn't have. Justice, I learned, was expensive. A confrontation at my baby's favorite restaurant traumatized a teenage waitress. Emily had shown up during our dinner, sitting at a nearby table and staring. When I asked her to leave, voices were raised. The young server called the police, terrified by the family drama playing out in her section. Another public scene that made me look unstable. I lost my job at the medical office due to excessive personal drama affecting patient care. The final straw was when Emily called claiming to be a patient with concerns about my mental state. Even though they knew about our situation, the liability was too much. My replacement, I later learned, was Emily's sorority sister from college. Liam and I moved into his childhood bedroom at his parents' house. The humiliation of returning to his parents' home while Emily redecorated my former house felt like salt in an open wound. She posted photos of the renovations online, erasing every trace of my presence from what had been my home. My mother approached me at my father's birthday dinner, which I'd reluctantly attended for my brother's sake. She begged me to stop torturing the family. Emily had made mistakes, she admitted, but she loved my son. Couldn't I see how much pain I was causing everyone? The reversal of victim and perpetrator was complete in her mind. My investigation into Emily's past revealed disturbing patterns, but caused collateral damage. A daycare worker who'd noticed Emily's odd behavior years ago was suspended after I contacted her. Her willingness to speak about Emily's history with other people's children cost her her job. Her daughter asked why mommy couldn't buy groceries anymore. The suspended worker's husband blamed her for getting involved with crazy people. Their marriage required counseling to survive the stress I'd brought into their lives. I continued my investigation knowing I was destroying innocent lives, but felt I couldn't stop. The quest for evidence had become an obsession that rivaled Emily's. Liam asked during a 2 a.m. feeding whether we might be wrong about some of it. The question hung in the air as I rocked our son. Could Emily's mental health issues explain everything? Were we fighting someone who needed help rather than punishment? I couldn't immediately answer because doubt had crept in. I publicly admitted to missing postpartum depression symptoms with my first child to maintain credibility about the current situation. The admission felt like giving Emily ammunition, but I needed to appear honest and self-aware. Acknowledging past struggles was supposed to make me look stable now, but it only added to her pattern of instability narrative. Evidence surfaced showing I'd ignored my baby's earlier health issue while focused on fighting Emily. A minor ear infection had progressed because I'd been too distracted by legal preparation to notice his discomfort. The preventable suffering my child endured because of my tunnel vision haunted me. Emily hadn't directly caused it, but my obsession with her had. Emily's lawyer filed an emergency motion advancing the trial date by 3 months. My attorney was in Europe for a family emergency, leaving me with his inexperienced associate. The tactical move caught us off guard, exactly as Emily had planned. We scrambled to prepare with limited resources and time. The truth about Emily's motivations emerged through depositions. She genuinely believed she deserved to be my baby's mother after years of watching me have everything. In her mind, I'd stolen the life meant for her. First love, marriage, and then motherhood. All things she'd wanted wanted but couldn't achieve. The baby represented her chance to finally have what she deserved. Her twisted logic made a certain sense. Years of being the older sister who couldn't find love, couldn't conceive, couldn't succeed, had broken something inside her. The baby became her obsession because he represented everything she'd been denied. Love for him mixed with desperate need to be chosen, to be special, to finally win. I betrayed my promise never to involve elderly relatives when I called my grandfather with dementia. He sometimes had clear moments and might remember things about Emily's past. The conversation was heartbreaking as he drifted between recognizing me and thinking I was my mother. I pumped him for information while he was confused, hating myself but unable to stop. The grandmother I'd been, who trusted family and believed in reconciliation, died during those months. A strategic manipulator emerged in her place, someone who could smile while gathering evidence and plot 10 moves ahead. Emily had created her perfect adversary by pushing me past my breaking point. Evidence secured by befriending Emily's stepdaughter felt particularly dirty. The girl innocently shared stories about her stepmother's special baby box, not understanding she was providing ammunition. I listened to a child's trust and filed away every detail for later use. The person I'd become frightened me, but stopping felt impossible. A minor legal victory granting one supervised visit felt hollow when I saw Emily sobbing over a baby photo outside the courthouse. Her grief looked genuine, the pain of a woman who'd carried a child and lost him. Both of us were broken by this fight, transformed into versions of ourselves we didn't recognize. Emily's counterclaim for full custody gained momentum with the guardian ad litem. The neutral party appointed to represent my son's interests seemed swayed by Emily's performance of stable, grieving aunt versus my increasingly frantic behavior. Every move I made to protect my child looked like paranoia to outside observers. Everything hinged on the court-appointed psychologist's evaluation of both women. Dr. Martinez would interview us separately, review all evidence, and make recommendations that would likely determine the outcome. Emily prepared for weeks, coaching herself on what to say. I could only hope the truth would be enough. Emily's teenage stepson texted asking why I was trying to take away his mom's baby. The boy had integrated Emily into his family, seeing her as a loving stepmother who'd lost something precious. His innocent question revealed how thoroughly Emily had woven herself into another family while destroying mine. Hospital colleagues divided themselves based on who controlled better shifts and recommendations. Emily's position on various boards gave her influence over careers. Those who supported me found themselves with weekend shifts and denied opportunities. The workplace became a battlefield where neutrality meant survival. The judge explained during a hearing that emotional harm wasn't enough for an emergency order. I needed documented physical danger to change custody arrangements immediately. The legal system moved slowly while Emily's psychological warfare continued daily. Justice required patience I no longer possessed. I called in a favor from my baby's NICU nurse who owed her career to my past recommendation. The woman reluctantly agreed to help, knowing what I was asking could cost her everything. Her fear was palpable as she handed over partial records. She wouldn't testify due to immigration status concerns, but the documents were something. The records revealed my baby had shown stress markers during Emily's care that she'd never reported. Elevated cortisol, disrupted sleep patterns, and feeding issues all pointed to an infant in distress. The evidence confirmed what my instincts had always known. Emily's anxiety and rough handling had made my baby suffer during those crucial early days. Final evidence came from Emily's deleted texts recovered by an IT friend who owed me a favor. The messages showed she'd planned everything before offering surrogacy. Conversations with our mother revealed a calculated campaign to position herself as the better mother option. The premeditation was chilling in its patience and detail. I realized justice would mean accepting my baby had experienced trauma I couldn't prevent. The guilt of not protecting him from Emily's damage would stay with me forever, but dwelling on that guilt wouldn't help him heal. I had to focus on the future, rather than the unchangeable past. I committed to ensuring Emily got help, not just punishment. My son would eventually need to understand his aunt's role in his life. Teaching him that mental illness explained but didn't excuse behavior felt important. He deserved to know he was loved, even if that love had been expressed in disturbing ways. Emily's sworn affidavit contained a provable lie about her timeline. She claimed to have been at an appointment that records showed she'd never attended. The single falsehood unraveled her carefully constructed narrative. Her lawyer's face revealed they hadn't known about the deception. I presented evidence calmly in court, maintaining dignity despite the urge to rage. Each document was laid out methodically, building an undeniable pattern of deception and manipulation. Emily realized she was truly caught when her own words from different sources contradicted each other. The web of lies had become too complex to maintain. The pattern of deception became undeniable as documents contradicted each other. Emily's various versions of events couldn't all be true. Her attempts to explain discrepancies only created more confusion. The judge's expression grew increasingly skeptical with each new contradiction. Both sides prepared for the final custody trial with everything at stake. Emily's family resources meant she could afford expert witnesses and psychological evaluations that supported her case. I had truth and determination, but worried it wouldn't be enough. The system seemed designed to favor those with money and connections. The courtroom filled with familiar faces choosing sides by where they sat. Church friends split down the middle of the gallery, some supporting Emily's grieving aunt narrative while others had started questioning her story. Emily unconsciously rocked empty arms while my hands shook holding a water glass. The habit she'd developed of cradling invisible weight revealed more than any testimony could. My attorney methodically presented the recovered texts showing Emily's premeditation. Each message built upon the last, creating an undeniable timeline of manipulation. Emily's face crumbled as her own words condemned her. The IT expert authenticated the deleted messages despite chain of custody questions, explaining that family court standards allowed more flexibility than criminal proceedings. Our parents' neighbor testified about strange comments Emily had made months before the surrogacy offer. She'd mentioned wanting to experience motherhood through any means necessary. The neighbor admitted she'd stayed quiet to avoid drama, but felt compelled to speak up after witnessing Emily's behavior at church. Her testimony carried weight because she had nothing to gain from involvement. The judge ordered comprehensive psychological evaluations for our entire family, including my parents. Emily's evaluation revealed severe attachment disorders and untreated infertility trauma. The psychologist noted her genuine love for my baby existed alongside possessive, unhealthy patterns. Love, the report concluded, wasn't always enough when it came from a place of desperation, rather than stability. Emily's breakdown during her testimony shocked even her own attorney. She genuinely believed the baby had chosen her as his real mother during pregnancy. Every kick, every movement had been a message meant for her. In her mind, I was the interloper who'd stolen what the universe had given her. The delusion ran so deep that confronting reality caused her to dissociate in the courtroom. The judge offered me the choice between requesting no contact or supervised therapeutic visits. I chose supervised visits, knowing my son would eventually need to understand his aunt's role in his life. The decision wasn't about forgiveness, but about preventing future trauma from family secrets. He deserved to know he was loved, even if that love had manifested in disturbing ways. Full custody was awarded to me with strict conditions on Emily's access. Monthly therapeutic visits would occur at a neutral facility with trained supervisors. Emily would need to complete complete intensive therapy and demonstrate stability before any progression in contact. My parents received similar restrictions, their enabling behavior finally having consequences.